freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 359 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearmsauctions.com, where you set the price on guns, ammo, and accessories. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our theme today is Inaugural RECOIL NFT Auction. That's a lot of words.
That's a lot of words.
Yes. And our guest today is Chris Cheng. Chris is a self-taught competitive shooter and tech guy who beat out 17 competitors to become History Channel's Top Shot Season 4 champion. Yeah, where's cheering? Yay. Okay. Chris is a techno-nerd and Asian American and openly gay, single-handedly breaking the stereotype of the average American gun owner and Second Amendment advocate. And combining guns and tech, Chris recently created a groundbreaking NFT digital art auction along with RECOIL Magazine. Hey, Chris, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on, Dan and Cheryl.
This is exciting to have you back on. It's been far too long. And to talk about this whole NFT auction thing, just NFTs all by themselves. You know, you can start seeing the little squirrel running on the wheel in my head because I am super derpy when it comes to those things. And I know that it all kind of culminated with this historic, all by itself, this edition of RECOIL Magazine.
Do they all have that signature
historic? Oh, and mine is personally signed. But,
Yours is special.
Mine is special. So this cover is historic. The auction is historic. There's so much to talk about. And I really kind of need to just hand it over to you with words of congratulations that this auction, to me at least, looked hugely successful. So let's hear what you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this groundbreaking, first of its kind NFT digital art auction in the firearms space was tremendously successful. And we sold 10 NFTs of the RECOIL issue 56 cover art. And those 10 NFTs generated $31,000 in wealth.
Wow.
And right, it's just fascinating, right? To see a digital form of art, right, generate that much money. Because I think, right, we're all used to seeing physical art, right, or physical collectibles, physical goods, right, being purchased, traded, and sold for real dollars. And there is this tremendous move into the digital space around digital ownership of items. And it's a little bit of a mind bender at first, right? And trust me, like I've been following NFTs for a year now. For the first 3 months, I was a skeptic, I was confused, but I understood some of the core tenets of what was happening. And after those first 3 months, I went from skeptic to believer. And in short, what's been happening is there's this new technology called the blockchain, and it's connected to cryptocurrencies. And essentially, the blockchain, it is this public ledger, and it's this public ledger that can ascribe characteristics such as ownership, how much a price was paid for a digital good, and it makes it public. And it's that provenance. It is that pricing history that brings authenticity and accurate history around these digital goods. So I'll pause there for a moment because I know like that in itself was possibly a lot, but the NFT auction was a huge success. And, I implore listeners to pay attention to the NFT space because, it has some tremendously positive implications for the gun community, for gun rights. And, I can definitely talk a little bit about what my vision is, for NFTs in the gun community space. But yeah, let's maybe dig into the general NFT concept. And I know that's.
So Chris, I'm older than dirt, and so I kind of like things in my hand. But can we start out for us old folks? What does NFT stand for?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's a great one. So NFT stands for non-fungible token. And it's a real kind of like geeky, description of basically saying a unique digital collectible.
Okay.
When you hear NFT, just think of it's a unique digital collectible, right? If there is an NFT that there can be like 50,000 versions, right, of a particular NFT, and and we're talking about a JPEG file, a movie file, maybe it's a PDF or a 3D CAD animation file. But it's a digital file there's a unique instance of that file that is ascribed to someone's personal ownership. So that's what an NFT is, right? So if you hear NFT, think digital collectible.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
But so you did the cover art of the RECOIL magazine. And so you made that a digital form and then you sold it at auction and brought all kinds of great money for a good cause. How do you do that?
Well, I want to ask a question first before Chris
sorry.
dives into that angle. I just wanted to talk about the idea of it being a public ledger, digital ownership, and provenance. And we do have an auction house. We have Pot of Gold auctions, and now all of our gun sales go through the auction. And every once in a while, we'll get something like George Washington's signature, right, on something. And so I'm sitting here going, wouldn't it be amazing if we knew for a gajillion% fact that that wasn't a forgery, that was an actual George Washington signature, because the provenance would be so irrefutably traced back to its source, right? And so you're saying with these NFTs, that is now possible, but I still struggle with the idea that do I actually have a piece of paper with George? I mean, I have this magazine that you signed for me, but I participated in the auction and now I have a digital version of it. So I'm still trying to marry those two worlds together. But I wanted to ask you before we dive into Danny's question, am I on the right track when I am trying to compare the provenance that we wish we had with historical items or artifacts and what this new world is offering us?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely right. So you're spot on. And it is the blockchain that is the verifiable proof of provenance and the chain of custody, the ownership. And so, for all of these NFTs, the RECOIL NFTs that we just sold, so it's going to show that it came from my digital wallet. Right. And, congratulations to GunFreedomRadio for being a part and winning, one of these 10 very rare NFTs. Right. So when the NFT hits your digital wallet, that will happen. We're going to be doing the transfer here, in due order. Everyone in the world is going to be able to see that GunFreedomRadio's, NFT that they own came from me. Right. And so that's really important. So here, let's take another example here. Snoop Dogg, apparently he is a big NFT collector. Rumor has it that he has about $20 million worth of NFT, art and digital collectibles. Now, I assume that at some point Snoop Dogg is going to start selling some of those NFTs, and people are going to go bonkers, right, buying an NFT that was owned by Snoop Dogg, right? And it's again kind of this mental gymnastics of like, well, okay, wait. So Snoop Dogg is basically he's selling a digital file that he's going to transfer from his digital wallet to someone else's wallet. But it's like, it's to be, you know, anybody can take a screenshot though, right? Of, let's say it's a picture, right? That Snoop Dogg is going to sell. Well, anybody can take a picture, you know, of that same like JPEG. But the thing is, right, if it's just a copy, like if you take a picture with your cell phone, it's like the equivalent of going to see the Mona Lisa, right? And you take a picture of the Mona Lisa with your cell phone, like that digital copy is worth nothing, because, right, unless you are a famous artist or a museum curator, but even still, right, a digital copy does not have the same value as an authentic digital version, right, of that same item that has a digital stamp of authenticity, right? Proof that, you know, the content creator, right? The artist, right? We need the proof that the artist, right, created it and it came from them. So that's sort of another way to kind of think about, you know, what's the analogy to the physical world with, you know, kind of digital or physical collectibles and physical art. There's very much a parallel, right, kind of paradigm in the digital space.
I get it. It is really still, you own it. I mean, you possess it, you feel it.
Right.
You
So I'm
touch it,
sitting here thinking, like, if we had, like we did at some point, we had a hat that supposedly, a cowboy hat that was supposedly owned by John Wayne, right? He didn't make the hat, but he owned it and he wore it. And now everybody else that owns it down the line, they want to reference back, you know, it's not just a hat. It looks like a bunch of other hats. It has this particular provenance. So with this Snoop Dogg thing, well, he didn't make the NFT necessarily, but he owned it at one point. And there are going to be people that are like, I have this thing that Snoop Dogg had in his digital wallet at some time.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, boom. Yep, that's it. And it's a fascinating new paradigm, right? That we're quickly moving into. And, you know, one other example that's kind of helped me concretize this NFT concept is going back to a physical analogy. I used to collect baseball cards growing up. Now, if you think about baseball cards, they are pieces of cardboard, right? That have ink and designs like on literally the cheapest like piece of like material out there, right? Yet there are baseball cards, right, that can sell for millions of dollars, right? Or you buy them for $4, right? And you sit on them, and depending on how the player performs or the team that he's on performs, the pricing of those baseball cards can go up or go down. So there's a similar, again, paradigm in the digital space with NFTs, right? You've got these collector cards in digital form, and depending, so the NBA, right? At the moment, they're the big leader in doing this, right? The NBA is selling NFT video clips of their basketball players hitting slam dunks and game-winning three-pointers, and people are buying these video clips for anywhere between, you know, $4 and thousands of dollars. You know, there's been these famous LeBron James like 15-second video clips that are selling for almost like $400,000, right? Just for one short video clip of LeBron James, you know, hitting these slam dunks. But Cheryl, right to your point, people love collecting and being a part, feeling connected to a brand or a celebrity or an athlete, and being able to say, I own a part of whatever sort of, you know, connected experience, right? Whether it's a John Wayne's cowboy hat, or, you know, a famous, you know, cowboy revolver that maybe was used by Annie Oakley, right? So all of this sort of the connectedness, right? That's really being able to relate to. Also, to be frank, you know, a lot of people, we all love peacocking, right? And showing off the things that we own. Right? Whether it's peacocking your sports cars or your firearms, or in this case, it's digital goods, right? It's people saying, right, for example, you know, the winners of the RECOIL NFT auction, right? There's only 10 of them, right? And
serious bragging rights. I'm just telling you, bragging rights for me, right? And I wasn't even in I wasn't number one, you know, but I wasn't, number 10. I was right in the middle. still it's bragging rights for me. And I don't even understand why yet. You're helping me understand, but I'm still super excited that I was part of this historic event.
It is amazing, right? And so, and here's why I believe NFTs have this exponential positive effect, is because, right, you are now one of 10, right, rare NFT owners of this magazine cover. Now, what does it represent, right? It represents the notion that the Second Amendment is for all, right? And when people, say, hey, Cheryl, Dan, like, what are you guys up to? What are some interesting things that you've done lately? You are probably talking about, this NFT auction and the fact that you bought and won this NFT, and people are going to ask you, well, right, what is the NFT? Like, and why did you buy it, right? And this is a conversation starter, right? This is literally how advocacy works, right? Advocacy is about, right, opening the door to have a conversation about a topic. And for a lot of people, right, in the gun rights space, the topic of firearms can be very uncomfortable, especially for sort of the neutral crowd who doesn't maybe know much about firearms. But maybe if they understand NFTs, right, or they want to learn more about, like, what is this digital art collector's world?
Yeah.
Right. Art, right. If you just think about art in general, right, art or collecting anything, it can be a level of abstraction, right, where you're talking about a cause, or, in this case, we're talking about a constitutional right. But, right, when you talk about it in an art form, right, art can make very controversial subjects and topics much more approachable, right, and less scary, right? Because we're not talking about actual guns in this case. We're talking about digital art, right? It's a firearms, with me on the cover of a magazine representing not only the gun community, but the LGBT community and the Asian American community. And right, clearly people I think are going to feel like less threatened, right, talking about firearms if we're talking about digital art, right, or digital collectibles. So not only do I believe there's going to be literal, dollars and cents value, right, that's already been generated, right, with this NFT auction, but it's going to generate the conversation, right? So, and any of us who want to enhance and expand our advocacy, right, and our impact, I believe NFT digital art, digital collector's cards, and really, right, expanding into this digital collection ecosystem and paradigm is going to be not just a very fun activity, but it's going to be very impactful from a gun culture perspective as well.
I really love that it could be a real crossover for people who, want to engage in the NFT world. And now we've got a talking point that kind of draws them into the idea of firearms ownership and Second Amendment advocacy. And it gives us another point of similarity to connect. And I think that's only good. Now, poor Dan, he's been sitting here with his question hanging.
It's just hard to, okay, so you made this digital picture here. So what do you do to make that so that it's recognized in the wallet thing that you were talking about?
Yeah, great question. So there are a number of websites that allow a content creator or a content owner to upload whatever file or files you want and do a process, what's called minting an NFT. Minting just means creating an NFT. So anybody can mint an NFT. But, if you think about general commerce, just because you mint something or create something and put it up for sale, it doesn't necessarily mean that people will pay for it, right? There's the same level of kind of marketing and salesmanship and branding and explaining to people, like, well, what's unique, or why is this thing interesting, right? Is the digital good itself interesting? Or is the provenance, right, part of why someone would, pay to own this digital good, right? So some of the similar physical kind of sales dynamics exist in the digital world as well, right? So you can't just mint an NFT and expect to, make a huge profit. Like, you still gotta, right, like, establish the brand. You have to create a good product, right? The NFT needs to be something, right? What would people want to own, right? Why would they value it? And then, right, as all of us who are content creators, right, we need to generate and create things that people value. So the good news though, right, anybody can create an NFT, but again, just because you create one doesn't mean that it's necessarily worth anything.
So in the autograph world, people who collect autographs, there are like 5 autograph certification companies throughout the world. And each one of those autograph certificate people say the other one's no good. So everybody's fighting each other about whose autograph authentication is right and whose is wrong. Could we get into this thing with the wallet situation where some people say that this wallet's not, you know, something's not good here? Am I on the right page here?
Yeah, that's a really fascinating question. So I think right now, my from what I've seen, I don't think there's that much controversy around sort of the authenticity of digital signatures. And the reason why is because the owner is still alive, right? The person digitally signing the goods are still alive. So for example, you know, I know that there's 10 versions, right, of the Recoil cover NFT art. And if somebody, right, said, oh, you know, I own the 11th. Well, I'm alive and I can just like clearly deny and throw cold water right on that claim because there's only 10, right? There is no 11th, you know, serialized NFT. Now, what happens though after I die, right? You know, 100 years from now, right, when people are looking back, right, maybe there is going to be a need for some kind of authentication entity, right? It's if you think about, I think about back to either baseball cards or museum curators, right? Or in this case, right, signature authorities, you know, right? There's probably going to be a whole ecosystem of digital authentication over time. I don't really know exactly, what that might look like. But there's some chatter about having, what's the word I'm looking for? Digital art appraisers.
Right. Yes.
Right. And having,
that's got to happen.
Yeah.
It's probably,
it does because you've made 10 and Joe Blow makes 11 and he just publishes it as the 11th one. And if you don't see it, there ought to be some way that
some authority
on
that.
That. Yeah.
And then I was going to say where I thought you were headed, and I like that you went the direction you did. The idea that I know that you signed this, I stood there, I watched you do it, but then, you know, as you said, 50 years from now or whatever, somebody else might go, well, how do I know Chris Cheng signed that? That doesn't, but if there was maybe somebody took a video of you signing it,
right,
and then we could NFT that now, I mean, is that a possibility when we want to know that something is super genuine? This blockchain technology, that could be a way of saying that it doesn't matter if, two different entities are saying, no, that signature is not genuine, and I say that signature is genuine, that we've got this authority in a digital form that said, no, look, see how he did that swoop right there? That's exactly how that is. See how the pen skipped right there? That's exactly. Am I completely off on the wrong track about that?
So I think, right, in this example, right, we're talking about, right, I signed a physical good, right, in this case, and then I digitized the physical item. So I think in this paradigm, right, your example, right, I think, having like video proof, right, of sort of, right, establishing the physical signature. But for a lot of NFTs, there's only a digital version of that thing. I mean, what we did with Recoil is pretty new, even just for the publishing industry in general, right? Like there just aren't a lot of magazine publishers that have somebody signing a physical magazine and then digitizing, that and selling that. So I mean, that in itself was also pretty groundbreaking for Recoil. And I've been talking to Recoil that I think NFTs have a huge potential to disrupt the publishing industry and disrupt in a good way, right? If you think about right, over the past 20 years, the publishing industry has really struggled, right, with this move from analog to digital. Right. It's just like becoming increasingly easy for us to not buy the newspaper, not buy a physical magazine, right? We just kind of consume more and more of our news and media in the online space. But with this Recoil auction, I believe this is a new revenue stream, right? For Recoil, for, they have other magazine properties, in the magazine publishing company, the holding company. And if you can imagine, right, that every time there's a new Recoil magazine cover, that they can do a similar NFT auction, or they could, instead of an auction, maybe they just say, look, we're going to mint 40,000 copies of the digital art that's going to be, digitally signed either by Recoil, or if there's some notable gun person on the cover, right, that could be digitally signed by them. And maybe instead of an auction, it's just 40,000 of them sold at $20 a piece. Right, just a flat price, and just first come first serve, and once they're gone kind of thing. Right, there's so many different business models like that. And so I'm talking to Recoil and trying to encourage them to keep going, right, with this NFT auction or NFT ecosystem, because I believe this is the first shot across the bow with my auction, and I believe that there's this repeatable, scalable business revenue stream that can that can exist for Recoil and lots of other areas within the gun community as well.
Yeah, I like the idea of that. But you said 40,000. I say maybe 10 copies of every issue that comes out with who's ever on the cover is a great idea. Beanie Babies, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, we don't want, even an NFT Beanie Baby situation to happen where it's just they made so many that people just lost interest in it. But if I like a magazine and I say, man, that would be so cool to collect all the covers in an NFT form. But if there's 40,000 people doing it, I'm not going to worry. It's not important to me right now.
Yeah, well, so here's a cool thing about the collector's space in general, especially when it comes to sort of collecting them all. Now, the Beanie Baby example is a great one, right? Like you said, sort of like flooded the market. I remember the early days of Beanie Babies, right? They were very rare. You'd have, parents, elbowing each other at, Toys R Us to, get the specific one that they wanted. And so it is kind of this balancing act, right? If you're a content creator, right, on the extreme end of the spectrum, right, do you go with just minting one, right, and making it a hyper rare one of one, or do you go on the other end and go, mint 40,000 or 100,000, right, of a particular thing, but then you sell it for cheap?
Right.
Pros and cons to each. For me, since we are in the early days of NFTs, I think for the next NFT sale or initiative that I get involved in, I think I want to go on the higher quantity of NFTs. And here's why. Like any new technology or platform or experience, the more users, right, the more people, the more eyeballs you get on the thing, the more people you can bring into the new thing, the better. Right now, while we raised $31,000 in revenue with this 10 of 10 rare Recoil NFT auction, there's only 10 winners, right? There's only 10 owners, but right, it would be we can create this rich ecosystem if we have 40,000 or 50,000 owners, right? We need to grow this ecosystem. And the only way to do that is, right, by having more affordable, right, cheaper NFTs. The number one bidder in my Recoil NFT auction paid $10,000 for serial number one.
So awesome.
Like mind blowing, right? $10,000 for serial number one of this digital good. It's a cover that anybody could, right, take a picture of the same magazine and say, oh, here's my NFT. It's like, no, that's not an authentic NFT that came from Top Shot Chris Cheng, right? It's only 10 of them. And so, I want to expand this ecosystem, like onboard new users. So just some food for thought for
everybody's got 10,000, but like you're saying, it's important to anchor it you know, in a you know, $10,000 range or more. But then you've also got to have the other end of the spectrum so that people can start playing the game.
Well, yeah, if you
right?
don't have,
So if I can start playing the game at, you know,
right.
$50 or $20 or whatever it is, then maybe once in a while I can be like, oh yeah, I need that one for 5,000, right? Or I need that one for 20,000.
Well, the thing is that,
but I've got to have started.
You're
at
right
some
on
point.
this. You're right on this,
Troy.
Chris. The 40,000, you know, you're going to have 40,000 people talking about it.
Mhm.
Where if 10 people buy it, you're going to have 10 people, and they're limited to how many, especially getting something new, you know, out on the horizon there. So I guess I could see that. But, you know, getting back to all this stuff, the thing that I would want to make certain, because I think it would be cool to own something that Snoop Dogg owned. I think that would be cool. So if I could
And
be
this is a 66-year-old
right.
white
I
dude.
love it.
So
right. So,
that's saying
you know,
something.
and I want something ludicrous to own too.
It's true.
Okay. So seriously, but when I buy that item, I need to make sure that I not only do I know that it came from him, but
Yeah.
that it also, when I get rid of it, that the next person knows that it came from him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me address that. And actually, I'd like to go back to your collecting comment prior. Right. So, right. It's back to this blockchain, right? Technology that, right. Let's say you bought something from Snoop Dogg, you know, what's happening right now is you're either one of two things are happening. Buyers are buying them directly from the seller, right? So, you know, in the example, right, Snoop Dogg could just say, yeah, you know what, Dan Todd, I'll sell you this NFT for $10,000, and boom, it's literally just a direct one-to-one transaction. The other dynamic, though, is you've got auction houses like Christie's and Sotheby's, right? That they are they're both authenticating the NFT, but right then they're managing the auction and the sale of the NFTs as well, right? So that's sort of your extra layer of protection. If it's like so there's this piece of art called Beeple. Beeple was a photography project where this artist took one picture a day for 5,000 days. And then he assembled all those 5,000 pictures into this big mosaic. And it's a digital mosaic, sold for $69 million at Christie's. I mean, it's like jaw dropping, like, wow, like, someone just obviously has a lot of money to just, you know, flit around, but it really helped establish, right, not just the provenance and the, you know, well, what is art? And we all just subjectively ascribe value to different pieces of art, right? I mean, you might look at the 69 million, right, Beeple digital art, and you can be like, you know what, I don't think that's worth anything. But it doesn't really matter, right, what you or I think.
Yeah.
It matters what the person who paid $69 million thinks, right?
That's
like
true.
that person literally just like laid down a very clear line in the sand and said, right, this is worth $69 million.
And
so
other
Dan,
people, somebody must have thought it was worth 68 million, because if it's an auction, right? And somebody else must have thought it was worth 67. And so
yeah,
it is crazy. An auction takes two people. So, you know, there was two people that valued it at that rough amount.
Indeed. And so Dan, right, your earlier comment, right, you know, wouldn't it be neat to collect like all the magazine covers, right, of Recoil, for example, right? So what's cool about the collector space in general is, right, there's this dynamic of I want to collect them all, right? I want to have the complete set. Now, what's happening in the NFT world when you have sets that can be completed is the content creator could offer additional perks or benefits if you do collect and complete, right, all of a particular set. So here's an example. Let's say Recoil Magazine, they convert every single issue of Recoil, right, since the beginning of time. They started selling them as NFTs, and they could say, hey, look, anybody that has every single issue from 2015, we're going to issue you a bonus NFT, right? It'll be a distinct NFT badge or coin, right? Or a digital sort of trophy, if you will, to say, oh, you got the 2015 collection complete. Anybody, and then on a more extreme example, right, if anybody who collects them all, Recoil could give them a lifetime, digital subscription or a physical subscription to the actual magazine. Or one thing that I love that's happening with NFTs in general is that event promoters, like concert promoters, they're using NFTs as a way of basically selling a ticket, an actual like ticket to a physical event. So here's another just sort of spitballing idea back with the Recoil Magazine thing, right? So let's say, Dan, you collected all of the NFT Recoil covers from 2020. And Recoil could say, hey, Dan, congratulations. Here is a digital ticket to a social event that Recoil is going to hold at SHOT Show, right? And only people who have collected all of the NFTs from 2020 that have this digital token can come to this in-person social event, right, where you get to interact with Recoil staffers, with the executives, with maybe I'm there because I was on a cover, right? So it could be this cool bridge from not just your digital experience, but bring it into the real world. So there's actual real world experiences, value, and fun.
That is awesome.
That the ideas are unlimited, I believe. And one of the ways that in our personal world, our guide through this is our son-in-law, Jason. And he keeps saying, just think about all of this stuff, this digital currency, this NFT stuff. Like the home computers were in, what did he say? The 80s, the 90s? I forget what he said, where it was like, okay, so you could send an email, and I'm sitting there going, why would I got paper, I've got a pen. Like, what do I need with this email thing, right? And
yep.
now, flash forward, I can't do without email. And it's just, nobody really knew exactly what people were going to use websites for, and, all that kind of new digital connectivity. And, he said, just open your mind to it and keep, you yourself, Cheryl, you think of ideas that could be used, that this technology could be used for. And I think just sitting here, I feel like, man, we've thought of a bunch of things. And, you get 3 people in any other room and you're going to get a whole bunch other ideas. So I believe it's in its infancy. I believe that this is a fun way to begin getting people used to it. But I think the sky's the limit. I don't feel comfortable with the idea of going with a cashless society. And I think that digital currency, leads us in that direction. But maybe this is somehow better, that people could trade in digital coin.
Yeah, I think for me, being a technologist, I think a lot of the time, new technologies, rarely completely replace the previous version of the thing, right? So I don't think we're ever going to be in a 100% cashless society now. I think at some point, I think digital transactions may outpace physical cash transactions. If you think about hyperinflation, right, that's happening in many parts of the world, you have governments that are abandoning their own currencies and they're going to digital currency, right, because it's more of a decentralized it's a decentralized standard cryptocurrency, right, that can't be manipulated by a government or by an organization. So it's pretty fascinating to see some, and again, Cheryl, to your point, this is all very early days. Cryptocurrency has been around since, around 2011, 2012, but even still, right, 10 some years later, it's still fairly new, right? The sort of the rules, the regulations, just the technology, there's so many different cryptocurrencies available, but like any industry or economy, right, eventually things will settle down, right? There will be winners, there will be losers, like any other sort of, capitalist, type economy. But the NFT world, I would say the NFT world, we are right now where we were with cryptocurrency 10 years ago with NFTs right now. NFTs, this is this is the sharp tip of the spear, where this is the part where 5 years from now, people are going to look back and say, I wish I had gotten more into NFTs.
I
Because,
believe
right,
that.
it's the same thing, right? Because right now everyone's looking at Bitcoin being at $65,000 a coin, saying, "Wow, if only I got in Bitcoin back when it was $3,000." But Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, like, it's a little more like speculatory, right? It's that's more of a investment vehicle. I mean, yes, NFTs are also definitely an investment vehicle, but again, they can just be fun, right? And anybody who likes collecting stuff, I'm a collector. Anybody who's collected things are going to love NFTs, and then part of this fun is finding which NFTs resonate with you, right? Which are the ones where you're like, I will pay X number of dollars for this NFT because I like what it represents, or literally I just like the way it looks, and maybe it's rare, or maybe the opposite. Here's a quick opposite example of rarity. The recent inspiration for rocket launch by SpaceX. They had an auction of a digital inspiration for patch. Right? It was a circular sort of patch, digital patch, and it had some animations, right, showing like the spaceship taking off. And they sold 260,000 NFTs of this digital animated patch for $4 each. Wow. And I bought one. I paid $4, right? Because I was like, you know what? Like, this is a very cool moment in human history, right? To have like a reusable, right, rocket that can go, put people into space. And I either can just have that as a memento, right? Of just like remembering, right, this moment in time. Or, right, if I want to show it off to people, I can be like, hey, look at my inspiration for patch.
Peacocking.
Yeah, exactly, right? If I want to peacock and be like, look, like I own a piece of the inspiration for experience, right? That's, and so do 260,000 other people. But in that case, like, I'm glad there's 260,000 other people, right? That's sort of like, that's our own sort of bond, right? Our shared enthusiasm and shared experience of supporting this really momentous moment in humankind.
And so let's just take that, right? That experience patch. I didn't even know about it. Had I known about it, yeah, $4, I might have done that. But now all of those are owned by citizens. There's no more in the digital gift store, I guess, right? And so now if I want to buy one, I have to find somebody who's wanting to sell it on the secondary market. I don't even know, is there an eBay of NFTs? Like, how would I find this thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So the nice thing is there's a mixture of open marketplaces. So I could put my inspiration for a patch up for sale on one of these very public marketplaces. If somebody, because they know me, Top Shot Chris Cheng, and they wanted to see my NFTs that I can make, they're publicly available, right? They could say, oh, I see Chris owns an inspiration for patch. I could receive an unsolicited bid, right? Someone could say, hey, Chris, I can see you paid $4, but I'm really inspired by SpaceX and I'm trying to collect all these SpaceX related patches. Would you sell it for $30? And I can say yes or no, right? So it's sort of this combination of you can receive unsolicited offers, right? And this is really different in the digital space, right? Because in the digital space, everything's transparent. People can search and find who owns, which things that they want. Where in the analog world, boy, right? Like I have to go into eBay. Like I guess like eBay is our digital to analog example, right? If I'm looking for someone who owns physical things, or maybe I need to go to your auction, to a pawn shop or at your store to find physical things. But in the digital space, it's very easy to find who owns what NFTs.
So I could go and find out what you own in NFTs without you publishing anything. I could go find out.
Well, so you would need to know what my digital wallet address is, right? So that's sort of a missing key, right? So for certain digital art owners, right, they make their wallet address public, right? Because they want a peacock. Like they literally want people to be like, right, go to my digital wallet and see all of the things that I own and brag about it, or be like, right, oh, right, there's always a story,
Mhm.
around the things that we buy and sell. And there's, sometimes drama and interesting stories, or, a bidding war.
Mhm.
The bidding war that happened with the Recoil NFT auction, GunFreedomRadio, I think, with like maybe an hour before the auction end, was sort of in the running, sort of in the top
I
five.
was
It
a
was like,
winner for a minute.
yeah. And
I could have been
then,
a contender.
and then within in the last 15, 20 minutes of the auction ending, these two random people, well, one was not random, one was Maj Toure. So Maj Toure,
He's been
jumps
against
in.
you?
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
Big
Oh,
man,
time.
I'm
yeah.
gonna have to talk
I
with him.
texted him. I was like, what's this?
Yeah. And then him and this other bidder, I mean, they just started dropping huge bids. I mean,
Awesome.
it was just like, right, the two of them just literally pulled away from the pack. And they were, it was that. And then they ended at $10,000 and $7,200 for the number one
Wow.
and two slots. And so you're right, it's like, it's that drama. It was like, whoa, like that was a very exciting moment.
Yeah.
And so seeing that recur over and over again with different NFTs is part of the fun, and again part of what drives value, right? How do we determine what something is worth? And a huge part of that is what's the story, what's the provenance, like, but also what is the object, right? What is the thing that we're talking about, and right? Why does it resonate with people, and why do we ascribe subjective value to it?
And part of the value for me, I mean, there was so many layers of value, but part of the value is I knew that the funds that you were collecting were supporting groups, organizations that I believe in, that I think, deserve help and deserve funds. And so we haven't even talked about that. Can you go into that for?
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Before we do, I want to tell you that, you mentioned, I got to correct something here. She said that she may have bought one of those patches. No, she wouldn't have. She'd have bought 10 of them. And the second thing, the reason why I think this NFT is going to really take off is because mom can't throw them away. Like baseball cards and comic books, right?
Yeah. Or imagine how many patches or stickers, right, do we all collect from numerous events that end up in a drawer, and years later, right, you clear them out. But in the digital world, right, all your NFTs, right, live in a digital wallet. There are new sort of Pinterest type boards, right, where you can pin, right, you make your own digital collectors patch boards, if you will, and show them off in a digital way. And to your point, Dan, right, it's I think for people who like uncluttered spaces, NFTs are the path to decluttering your physical world.
Well, I agree with that. And at my age, all the things that I've collected in my life are becoming a burden. They're not fun anymore. And so I'm getting rid of a lot of stuff just because you have to worry about it getting stolen. You have to worry about, is it going to get rusty? You have to worry about, there's so many things. So I think this is a good thing. Yeah. But then I'm going to shut up after one more question, and then I'll let Cheryl have the floor with you. How do I get a wallet?
There are a number of companies that allow you to create a free wallet. Yeah. So one of the most popular ones is MetaMask. METAMASK. Okay. So MetaMask, you can create a free digital wallet. There's another company called OpenSea, OpenSea, like the ocean. So OpenSea is an open NFT marketplace, right? If you go to OpenSea.io, the website, they have, I don't know, millions of NFTs available for sale. It's sort of like an open air, market, if you will, right? You just sort of, all sorts of, artists and owners. Creating a digital wallet is, it's free. It's relatively easy, but on the technology side, it can get easier. And so that's where, when the technology makes it seamless and super easy to create your account, get onboarded. That's when we're going to see like the next acceleration, right, of new users, create their digital wallets. Sometimes you need to purchase cryptocurrency, which is sort of a whole nother thing. another process that I believe is actually a barrier, right, to having people enter the NFT space. You know, with the Recoil auction, you could just use a credit card if you wanted to, right? I feel like that's the correct on ramp for most people, right? It's like, don't make them, you know, buy cryptocurrency first. Like, look, just let them use a credit card. You know, maybe you're going to get charged a little bit more for credit card fees per chance, but yeah, the creating a wallet is easy. So Cheryl, back to your point about, one thing when I was structuring the Recoil NFT auction, I wanted to incentivize the auction winners as much as possible, right? So not just as you win the NFT itself, but right, you want a signed copy of the magazine, Recoil subscriptions. The top 5 winners are going to be invited to a fun shoot with me and the Recoil staff. But then there is this other component of donating a portion of the proceeds to Second Amendment organizations, right? That's something that's very important to me, right? That this, for me, I see a huge part of my success having come from the gun community. And so I need to constantly be giving back in meaningful ways. And so there's 3 organizations that I chose to be beneficiaries for the NFT auction. The first of which is the Firearms Policy Coalition, which has done tremendous work for us in the court system and advocating, on our behalf. The second organization is the Pink Pistols, also known as Operation Blazing Sword, and they're a pro-LGBT, pro-Second Amendment organization. And I'm on the board of directors for the Pink Pistols, and our mission is to train the LGBT community in responsible firearms ownership and usage. And as a targeted minority community, I'm advocating for, for LGBT members of the LGBT community to consider firearms as a part of, our self-defense strategy. Lastly, APA-GOA is a new organization that I co-founded, stands for Asian Pacific American Gun Owners Association. It's a pro-Asian Pacific American gun group, right? We're also focused on training, education, and community. And, over the past 2 years, with the extreme rise in racist attacks against Asian Americans in our country, we have seen a huge demand in firearms training, in just general education. And, we want APA-GOA, right, to be a place, right, for Asian Americans, right, to come to if they have questions about, how do I go learn how to shoot? Do I just show up at a gun range? Well, can I rent a gun? Can I shoot a friend's gun, right, if they have a gun? Right? All these, like the standard basic questions. We want APA-GOA to be a primary conduit for Asian Americans, right, who are looking for that either that first time shooting experience or buying their gun for the first time as well.
Absolutely. And it's so we all have to have somebody that we can relate to help us when we're going into unfamiliar territory. And so, each one of these, Firearms Policy Coalition, Pink Pistols, Operation Blazing Sword, and the Asian Pacific American. So there are people out there that, might relate on any of those 3 levels and feel like, okay, this is an organization that I can ask these questions to, or begin to understand this world of firearms ownership and rights and those sorts of things. And this is no different with this whole brand new world of NFTs and digital currencies and digital collectibles. And so we have to have somebody that we can relate to and say, okay, Chris, we know each other well enough that I can ask you the dumbest question on the planet, and you will, you'll laugh with me, not at me. You'll laugh with me, right? And we'll move through it, and I'll ask you 10 more times, and you'll laugh with me all 10 times, and eventually I'll be able to enter this world and feel like, okay, now I can advise the next person. And so I think that's so amazing and perfect and beautiful that you're using one element to support another element of your life. and these groups that are, a gateway for a lot of people that, they're not necessarily going to walk into the next NRA meeting, but they would go to a Pink Pistols training class.
Yeah, and so let me tell you a personal story that happened, with the Recoil magazine cover, which, for me, it really encapsulated like why did I do the cover, right? So when the magazine was on newsstands, I was visiting my parents in Southern California, and I wanted to take them to a Barnes and Noble, right? To kind of, it'd be a fun little family outing. It's like, all right, how many times?
Peacocking,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I'm
Bragging
peacocking,
rights.
yeah. Yeah, and it's like, all right, how many times am I gonna, be on a magazine cover and I'd be able to like show my parents, on the magazine rack, right? So, we were just intending, right, to go to Barnes and Noble, take some quick pictures. I bought a few too to, help pump the numbers a little bit. But so, as I was just casually talking to my parents in front of the newsstand, and I saw a gay couple that was just, they were just generally looking at the magazines on the stand. And, Recoil is off with, all the other like kind of guns and outdoor, kind of section of the magazine rack. And, this gay couple, they weren't even looking right at any of the outdoor stuff, but they saw my shirt, right? They saw that shirt on the magazine cover with LGBT colors. And one guy goes, to his significant other, and he goes, "Hey, like, look at that cover." And he took a picture of the magazine cover because like that piqued his interest.
Yeah.
And like, for me, I was like, wow, like that's literally the whole point of this particular cover, right? That the Second Amendment is for all, right? Whether you're LGBT or Asian or anything else. And sometimes, right, it takes that, it's the visual, right, of somebody looking at something being like, I relate to this thing on some level, right? And it's that connectivity that reduces the fear, right? It makes it more approachable. And so if you take that physical example that I just provided, right? Gay couple who sees the physical magazine on the rack. Well, obviously the magazine's not on the rack anymore because, right, the next issue of Recoil's come out. But in the digital space, especially as NFTs, or just generally, right, you can just Google, right, Google my name, you'll see the cover, right? It's the digital paradigm that allows that impact to exponentially, right, fan out, right? It's like you could have other, LGBT members of the community worldwide, right? So maybe they stumble upon, right, that digital version of the cover, whether it's an NFT, right, or just a Google image search version. But the point is, right, that visual is having an impact, and it's the impact, at least that I and Recoil wanted to see, right, which is bringing in new people into the gun community.
Absolutely. I just love it. And we are so, running out of time. We could keep talking for another hour if I could have you, but we do have to wrap. What lessons were learned through this first attempt? Is there another idea already brewing? Like, where are we with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a huge success. And yeah, there's definitely going to be more activity, in the NFT space, both for me personally. Like I mentioned, I'm talking to Recoil and advising them on some of the next potential NFT sales or auctions. I'm personally working on a pretty big thing, which I hope maybe I can come back on the show in a few months if I've got, something big to announce. And then I've also been meeting with other NFT and crypto companies in the firearms space. And so, it's not just me, thankfully, right? There's other players in the firearms community that are also contributing, to the NFT and crypto ecosystem. And there's some pretty exciting things coming down the pipeline. But like I said, Cheryl, earlier, we are in the infancy stage, right? There's going to be a lot of new ideas. Some things will fail. Some things will be very successful, and some things will be moderately successful, or as with anything else. But this is the exciting part, right? Anybody who's entrepreneurial, right, who's not afraid to try new things, who sees the vision or understands the vision of how crypto in general can be a positive force, for lots of applications. I'm obviously very excited about NFTs and its ongoing potential. So yeah, stay tuned. And again, for listeners here, NFTs are here to stay. I hope this has at least piqued your interest, and I want to encourage you to not be frustrated. If you feel dumb, even after hearing us talk about this for, 30, 45 minutes, don't worry. That's very normal. I felt dumb and didn't understand this the first like 10 to 15 times that I heard it. So carry on. You'll get it. It's going to be fun and it's going to be great.
Well, I tell you, I've learned a lot from this 30 minutes, and I've already got an idea. I can't tell on the air because I think it's so good that it needs to be talked about later. Seriously,
there you go.
Seeds,
seriously,
Chris, I
yes,
love it.
like,
yes.
I think I'm gonna quit my day job.
Okay. Which one?
Seriously,
which one of your day jobs? Because we have
but
a
seriously,
lot of jobs.
I mean, talking about the famous people and doing it. Oh, I got an idea.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Now he's like, I gotta go.
I'm going.
All right,
Chris, thank you.
Yes, thank you. This has been amazing, and I really do feel like I have a much better handle on the whole idea. And clearly you're seeing Dan getting ginned up and excited, and the wheels are turning. I'm hoping that is happening all over the nation when people are hearing this episode and watching this episode. And really all over the world, because wherever there's internet, we have listeners and viewers. So you could have just given birth to a gajillion ideas all over the planet.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me on as always. And yeah, this is a very exciting topic. I'm happy to come back and chat more about NFTs whenever you have me back.
It's a definite date. Absolutely. We are going to have you back on multiple times to continue talking about this. Chris, tell folks how they can continue to follow your journey. And then also, people who are just learning about Recoil maybe for the very first time, maybe throw them a website or something that they can follow.
Absolutely. So I've written a number of articles on Medium. So if you go to medium.com/@TopShotChris. I've got a number of posts at Medium. Again, @TopShotChris is my handle over at Medium. And then also I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube @TopShotChris, which is a very consistent handle, which thankfully is available. And then I'm also at TopShotChris.com. So yeah, anybody who wants to follow along, or if you want to contact me, check me out at any of my sites @TopShotChris.
Fantastic. And then is Recoil Magazine, do you spell out the whole, do we even know? I should have looked that up. I think it's recoilmagazine.com. Do we know?
For recoilweb.com if you want to check out any of Recoil's articles. They've been such a leader in developing the next phases of gun culture, and Recoil being involved in the NFT auction, right, is this big next step, right, to establishing the future of gun culture and the gun community. So please check out Recoil if you haven't already done so. recoilweb.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Top Shot Chris.
Chris,
we appreciate
thanks for everything you do, man. You're great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Thanks, Dan. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Wow.
What
fun stuff.
An awesome
How come we can't understand what Jason's telling us when he talks about that? For 4 days.
Don't anybody tell Jason Danny just said that, because
4 days. Jason can explain something. It is a
never-ending conversation in our house. And poor Jason probably feels like, okay, if for the 900th time.
Right. And he's told us everything that Chris just told us. But
sometimes
how come
you just need that next conversation, right? For it to start sinking in, or
we've learned a lot since the last time we talked to Jason about it.
Absolutely. And this is just a fascinating and fun. So much in our world right now is heavy and serious and divisive. And here's something that is, it's fun, it's forward looking, it has a very hopeful whole outlook to it, right? And so I think that is an awesome conversation to have in the month of Thanksgiving, right? We're in Thanksgiving month, and got my turkey colors on here. Got my little pumpkin behind me. See, it even has polka dots. So So this was awesome. And of course, we are in the studio on November 8th of 2021. I always like to give people kind of an anchor as to where we are on the historical timeline of life. And this is going to be a wonderful conversation starter, probably around all the Thanksgiving dinner tables, all the holiday dinner tables. You know, there's so many things now that are like, can't talk about the weather because global warming, can't talk about what the kids are doing at school because, you know, education is like a big divisive topic now. Can't talk about so many things. We could talk about NFTs.
Yeah, and speaking of collectibles,
right?
Let's talk about collectibles for a second.
Okay.
First of all, everybody needs to take a look at the website at Pot of Gold Auctions. We have on December 6th, our annual gun auction.
Yes,
military collectibles.
You actually want to go to POG Auctions. So it stands for Pot of Gold Auctions, POGauctions.com. And yeah, you can click the current auctions tab and you can actually see all of the auctions we have published, including the one Dan's talking about.
And you can bid to your heart's content, darling. No, but there's we've got several capture paper guns with the papers. And everything's no reserve. We've got Gatling guns, a couple machine guns. There's Colt single actions, just a ton of stuff, some medals, bayonets. And again, this is December 6th. It's a Monday. It is the day after the SAR show, which I also want to plug. The SAR show is in Phoenix. It's a small arms review show with the Crossroads of the West. That is the week before that, weekend of that. So that would be what, the third?
Let's
fourth,
see.
fifth?
It's always on my
Third,
birthday.
fourth, and fifth.
So
yes.
it's the.
So
yes,
you
it's
might
the
want to check that out. I
fourth
mean,
and fifth of
you
December.
haven't been to a gun show until you've gone to the SAR show. It kind of reminds me of the day when they had the big shows in California way back. So make sure you take a look at that. But we won't be setting up this year at the show, but make sure you come and on our website and look at that auction.
Absolutely. All right. We have got to get out of here. We are way over time, but I wouldn't have changed anything about today's show. Please, if you like listening to the audio only version of these shows because you're out, you know, doing things,
oh my
enjoying
gosh,
the beautiful,
doing things,
the beautiful changing of the leaves.
Oh, this weekend, my wife had a to-do list that was never to get done. I mean, it was huge, but we did manage to get it done.
It was a honey please
so
and a honeydew.
I should have
list,
listened to
right?
Gun Freedom Radio while I was doing it. No, because then I'd have heard your voice and then I would have been, get that light bulb changed, get this. Oh, never mind. What was I saying? Hi.
Oh my gosh.
Pray for our nation.
All right. Coming back on putting the train back on its tracks. If you like listening to the audio only version of our show, please go to our website, GunFreedomRadio.com, click the on demand tab and binge listen to your heart's content. If you like watching the video version of these shows, you can find us on YouTube, GunStreamer, the OpsLens smartphone app. And when you get to those locations, please subscribe and smash with your pinky up, right? Very delicately, the announcement button so that you will get an announcement every time we post something new. And I think I just called that the wrong thing, but you will get there.
Announcement button. I never heard of the announcement button.
It's the notifications button. Thank you. I'm a little slow in the uptake today. And then what else are we going to do, Dan?
We're going to pray for our nation. I'm even afraid to look at the news right now, but we need to pray for those people that are in office.
Yeah.
Pray for them.
Yeah, for sure. Please.
Please.
Yeah.
Please.
How about the ones that we're a little frustrated with right now?
A little frustrated?
Yeah. Because there's some on all spectrums, political spectrums.
Yeah, even
we're a little frustrated.
Even the side that you think that's on the right, that's on the side of cleaning this mess up, did some kind of weird things this week.
I think they do a lot, and we just ignore it, let it slide, or don't hear about it. But what about the ones that we're frustrated with? Do we pray for them too?
Yeah.
You don't sound sincere. Yes, we pray for them too, maybe especially for them. All right, until next time, be good to each other. Have a great week, and God bless.
God bless. Bye-bye.